Hello everybody, Rufi here with another play and explain video on 10NL for value heavy. Last one was quite fun, so I thought I'm gonna do another one. And yeah, again this time we're gonna try to play aggressive. We're gonna try to exploit the recreationals, maybe even step it up a notch from last time to really see how far we can push our limits. Go loose pre-flop, attack in a lot of situations, attack everything that we deem as passive, and try to go try to exploit us as much as we can, while also sticking to some theoretical principles, and I hope you guys can learn something from it. I already started without the recording. That's why I have a couple of big blinds here on table one, but we have two tables, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes today. Again, don't read too much into my labels. They might be old, or the notes as well might be old and not a bit outdated, but yeah, we'll just see as it goes here, facing a 3-bet. I'm just gonna pure fold this. On table one, we open against the recreational. Gonna start here with a check and see what he does. Once he checks back, we can be really aggressive. My hand is just a gut shot without any backdoor, so think that hand I'm just gonna check call and check fold on a turn, and again if he checks back on a turn, we can bluff him off. If I would know that he steps way too much or steps randomly, then I can maybe also check raise, but this is really nice because now he's not gonna have an ace or king very often, while we can. So think coming in with an overbet now, putting max pressure on an 8 or a 9 works really well here. So happy with that. On table two, we made a kind of looser open because there were some potential recreationals. We got two flat calls. So gonna start just with a check here. And on table one, we're also gonna make a looser open. We see two quick checks, making me think I most of the time have the best hand. Now the question is, do I want to value bet or check? So are they more likely to bluff or to value bet? Because they check too quickly, I'm gonna go for a block bet. And on table one, we have the aces, where we get 3-bet. And now we get two callers here, so we're quickly just gonna stick to this hand, where I'm gonna go really small again for 1.5 big blind, just trying to get value from some worse hands. And then on table one, we're just gonna 4-bet here, really small. Actually, there's both short. I'm gonna call. So I was about to say, like, the only hand that we lose to is ace jack. But let's cover this hand quickly. So this guy's really short stick. This guy's short stick behind, so there's no reason to do anything else other than calling, I believe. And now again, we're just gonna call and let him, blast off. A bit of an unfortunate card, not because we're too worried about our hand, but we just lose a lot of value. The question now again, do we want to check back or bet? I think I want to come in for a small bet, and then maybe sometimes he passes off. I go like 9.2 big blinds, and make sure he continues with even like queens, jacks, etc., and then feels forced to call off on the river. Could check back as well if I think he was bluffing a lot, but squeezing here from the big blind, I think his range is quite strong, so I'd rather just bet. And yeah, if we go back here on this table, right when we had the queen jack, we had also the option to check, but it's very unlikely that they're bluffing, and I'd rather bet to get value when we had the queen jack from a hand like jack 10 or jack 9 or pocket pairs that got sticky after they check back so quickly. I never think I'm up against the king, so that was the reasoning there. Maybe we can quickly bring it up while these guys are tanking. Otherwise we'll just leave it and focus on these hands here. Table one, this is loose, like normally would be queen 5, but again, not thinking that they're a bit too passive usually, although these guys don't seem like recreationals. But yeah, for the video I think it's fine. And then when I'm out of position against the button, I'm just gonna start with a check. Also makes a lot of sense with my particular hand, and then kind of let him give me a lot of information. He goes for 1/3 sizing, which he probably shouldn't use here, and he should probably be more polarized with more check backs. But yeah, we have an easy check call, now an easy check call on a turn. Table two here, we defended 5-4 offsuit because my opponent went for a min open. And now on the turn, I can use both a block bet and overbet sizing, makes sense. Or a check raise. I think I actually like to go for the check raise here. And then on table one, they went check check, and I'm gonna go for a block bet on the river. And then on table 2, I'm just gonna bluff this, wrapping mainly a queen, getting him to fold some ace highs maybe. Not ace king. Ace king can call. We could also overbet, but on a jack he can have some jack X, so I don't wanna polarize there too much. On table 1, we got called by jack 7. Okay. Here on table 1 we have interesting decision. I'm still gonna 3-bet, but I'm not loving it because he's shorter, so I might get 4-bet jammed on a lot, which sucks with this kind of hand. I could just flat, but he made it 3x, which is not that ideal, so I'm just hoping that he's not 4-bet jamming basically. And here's interesting, my hand doesn't really need to bet. Maybe I gain more value by letting him bluff here. So we'll try that. I don't want to get check raised by a hand like ace 5, that kind of merge check raise, not knowing where I'm at. And now I can just check back and call twice and letting his presumably wide preflop range bluff into me. Sure, sometimes I'm going to lose against an ace, but at least I give him more chances to bluff this way. Spade, obviously not ideal, but I still don't think I'm going to fold here, especially after he went smaller flop. Now he also doesn't go all in, he only goes half pot here. If he had a stronger hand, presumably he goes all in. I'm not sure he thin value bets an ace here still, so I'm quite happy calling here again. And yeah, we just let him bluff, so happy with that. Worked out quite well. So with recreationals, when they have their range wider pre-flop, it pays off a lot to let them bluff. Here in table 1 we open blind, we blind, we see bet smaller flop. We're gonna barrel on the turn, keeping updated here, but yeah, just good block, future blocker for a lot of rivers that we can bluff here. And here we open against the recreational, that flatted on the button. He checks, goes for pot. Yeah, I think usually still fine to just check raise with this hand. Sure, he can have a set sometimes, but he's also gonna have a lot of weaker pocket pairs and random hands that step, and tens needs a lot of protection. Yeah, he just folded this time, but I don't really like check calling there. As long as the recreational is somewhat wide enough, it's fine to check raise there and get value from a 6, a 5, and worse pairs. Don't be afraid there in these situations. Sure, sometimes he's gonna have a set, but not all the time. Here we open the button, bit loose again, but again, we're not getting 3-bet enough. And they're not gonna play too aggressively. Now we went for a small c-bet on the flop. Check turn. And I think we're gonna call this river. That's a decent amount of bluffs. Sure, he's gonna have an ace quite often, but he's also gonna have, you know, some missed clubs that he's definitely gonna bluff here. Maybe some broadways like king queen, some backdoor hearts, and we don't really block any of the hands. Let's go here to the replayer, please come in here. Yeah, we don't block really any of the hands that he's bluffing. We also block 4-3, the river straight. If I had something like 5-4 with the river at 5, where I block the 2 pairs, we could also bluff raise this on the river. But I think I had like 6-4, for example, make for decent bluff catching candidates there in this wide situation spots. Back to table 1 here, where we could call or we can fold here. Gonna call. We made it a bit smaller, and we do flop the set. Let's go. Yeah, if he bets half of the bigger, we're just gonna call here. We're not really gonna do any raising there, just calling and letting him, you know, hopefully improve. Obviously not the greatest turn. Again, we're still happy with our set, but it just kills a lot of the action there. Nonetheless, he keeps betting, so I expect him a lot to be on like over pairs, or over cards with a club here. Those will just fold if I jam here, so I'm just gonna call and let them bluff off on the river, hoping obviously to fade the 4th club. And now a hand like ace king, ace jack are pretty nice bluffs, and we're gonna have a lot of pocket 5s, pocket 9s that now got their 10s, jacks with a club. Those hands, they're all in a shitty spot. Of course he's gonna have a flush sometimes, but he's also gonna have aces, kings here, so we have a fairly easy call here. And this time he did have the flush, so a bit unlucky here, but yeah, happy with my play. Table 2 we get 3-bet and we get a cold call. Tempting to call here with the recreational in there. and this guy making it slightly smaller. I think we can call here, just because the recreational adds a lot of EV to our hand, and we're just gonna check. Let this see, this guy is gonna be quite face up against the recreational, and then we are last to act, which makes it better. So this check is really weak. He's not gonna check a lot of overpairs. It's annoying because the king comes. Quick check from the recreational. Think I'm still gonna go for a bet here. He's not gonna fold a king, but he's gonna fold most of his other hands. And once this guy folds, yeah, sure, he's gonna have a king, but if he check call, it's not that great because he could be bluffing us a lot on this card, so I'd rather just bet myself here. And also this guy checked quite quickly, so I think we can put a lot of pressure on him too. We could have gone slightly bigger just to make sure this guy folds everything that's not a king, so we're a bit more fine giving up on the river. He's in a tank there, which is interesting. Table 1, by the way, we opened, we see a bit smaller on the flop. Now we check the turn and we face this really small bet. We're just gonna raise. Yeah, we're just gonna check back way too often when he goes too small, and he 3-bet jams. If he has the ace, the nut flush, so be it. Good luck to him. Oh my god. Yeah, we run into it. I'm sure this is strong, right? But he's also gonna sometimes click buttons, and this guy seems to be just timing out. So I hope we're gonna take this down. Bit unlucky there. Two kind of cooler set against the flush, and here second nut against the flush. But yeah, definitely take a note if you play against guys like this that you know what they're doing. But you know, the money here goes in anyway against the recreational. Not much we can do. And here, yeah, he's just timing out, and we take it down. So the reason here that we don't want to check is because if we check, he cannot bluff us, but if we check call, he might be bluffing with a hand like ace jack, ace 10. While when we bet, we get those hands to fold. Even though in theory we should be way more careful on this card. So this is just thinking of more of a practical way, right? And the king is probably just gonna call here, and then we know most other, he doesn't really have other overpairs because he checked back on the flop. And this way we're kind of sure that, you know, he has a king on the river, so it's easy to navigate on the river. Here a limp, we're just gonna see a flop here, and then maybe do something if we get like the perfect turn here. It does check back quickly and then calls on the turn, which is interesting. I think I will be bluffing this hand here, although I went for large sizing, but I don't think he snap checks back a king. Let's hope that read is good, and then we just make it fold. So apparently maybe he hit like ace 3 or pocket deuces here, maybe queens sometimes, but yeah, I think I'm fine here. And on table 2 we 3-bet the kings and we get a call. Ace high flop, that's not what we're looking for. Pretty good flop though, so I'm still gonna just start off with a small bet. And we get immediately raised. We don't have a club in our hand. Tough spot to find a lot of natural bluffs. He could have 6s, he could have 3s, he could have some club draws, but quite large sizing. I'm just gonna straight away fold, man. I'm not, you know, trying to be a hero here. Table 1, ace queen offsuit. 3-betting, we get another call. Really good flop for me. Gonna just start with a small range bet. And then not the best combo to bear. We don't have spades in our hand. We have the ace of hearts in our hand, which after he calls is quite bad because his float, like the fold on turn, are gonna be something like ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 of hearts. And yeah, therefore I'm just gonna check this one back. I can, you know, king is not really gonna fold. And if he has pocket pairs, I can realize nicely this way, and then potentially still bluff him off on like a jack or something on the river. And now he goes for 3-4x jam when the flush gets there. Again, I don't think this is very often gonna be a bluff. Like we're gonna have queens here, we're gonna have kings here, sometimes checking back. We're gonna have some flush draws, maybe pocket 9s, some traps here. We're also gonna have hands like probably not ace king, but like yeah, well, what is he bluffing here when the queen gets there? He would need to have like the ace of hearts, which you block. So tough for him to find bluffs here for the sizing. And we're just gonna have a lot of strong hands ourselves. On table 2, we defended multi-way with this hand. And now we see a large bet and a call. Probably just folding this hand here, to be honest. Like, he's gonna have a really strong hand betting large into 2-pair, and this guy as well. So we're gonna be quite, even our flush draw might be dominated here sometimes. So I think just checking, yeah, he keeps firing right away really quickly. Really good board for him as well, so tough for us to be doing much here. On table 1 here, we gonna go, I think, for a check raise after we face a half pot bet here with an overcard, with a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. And yeah, just take it down. They're gonna step too much here. Interesting here to watch what happens. A big bet, and then check on the river. Maybe like a combo draw, something like ace jack, ace 10, king jack. Actually, this guy had queen jack. So we're in a bit of better shape than I thought, but still not doing well against the first guy. Here, this guy opened to 2.5x. That's why we defended here. And then larger sizing, not loving it, but we're still gonna call. We can bluff some run outs, so we can be good here. We're not folding a pair on the flop, where we have nice ways to improve. On table 2, we defend with the pocket 7s against a very small 3-bet, and then against this small sizing, we're also gonna call. Could consider raising here small, which I like, and then back to table 2 here. Not sure about sizing here. Could see larger sizing also making sense. I think just starting to bluff right away after he bets big and then checks. And now he also does this. When the 10 gets there, doesn't seem very strong. I will just raise this. And we get the fold. So yeah, the idea here is that when he checks quickly, I don't think he has a lot. And here we raise kind of small on the flop. It's a bit more of an exploit play to shut him down with overpairs, and now we can just basically see a showdown for free, check this down, win a lot against ace king. If we're really sure, we could also go something crazy and bet small now, trying to get value from ace king here, because he did check back quite quickly on the river. I'm tempted here to go maybe like something like half pot here. We're not wrapping too much maybe in his eyes, and he might get sticky here with ace king, and I think an overpair would have bet by now, or re-raised. Wow. Well, now we get punished for it. Yeah, so here I think it's also important to realize our read was wrong, and we kind of went a bit too greedy, and now not just call this off and say like, I don't think he has anything, which was our read until now. Apparently he did trap something like aces, and now punishes us for that. And yeah, now we're just gonna fold and accept that our read was wrong here. So the standard idea here with this hand was just to raise on the flop, make him fold his overpairs that put us in a tough spot, and then check it down. But this runner was so good that I think going for a value bet in the river is still okay, especially when he checks twice so quickly, where he's very likely to have a hand like ace king or ace queen that could pay us off here. And I didn't think he's gonna have overpairs here. I thought they're just gonna either re-raise on the flop or bet the river himself. Now we have the ace king here. We're gonna go for a small 4-bet here, called 4-bet. We're having a really strong range. We're in position. We don't need to go large here at all. And if he jams, we're gonna call this off. The first guy jams, it gets way closer. But against the other guy with all of that money in there, we're definitely calling off. This 9-3 gets close. If they're both recreational, definitely opening. Even this one guy, I think we can open and yeah, try to steal the blinds a bit wider. We're running good here for the video. I mean, at least we're flopping good. Now I just have to hope that we also convert this into something. So we go for a small sizing here, this hand, and then we just, you know, play it quite normally post-flop. I think this guy seems like to be irregular. We get check raised. Okay, so yeah, good board for him to be check raising. He's gonna have a lot of 3x hands here. Draws are tough to find for somebody who hasn't studied this flop here. But also a good board to put a lot of pressure even on our 10x over pairs. If somebody range bets this board, you know, good one for him to be attacking. Passive triple raise is strong, so not the best thing for us on the flop, but obviously on the turn, you know, we improve even better. So just calling, hoping he does have another 3, or is just finds the bluff. But with these kind of, unless they're outdated, I expect him to be quite strong here. And then if he bets, we're obviously jamming. If he checks, it's interesting. So he could have a 10, which makes a lot of sense, betting the flop, betting the turn. Or he could have just a bluff. Against that range, I like this kind of more smaller sizing when the queen gets there in the river. Also, it's not obvious which bluffs, which hands that we have that we call on a turn that could now bluff on the river. I'll update you in a second here. Meantime, over here we flop the nut flush. Go for small bet, he calls. Just gonna continue betting here, not really overcomplicating my life here. We have the nut flush. Oh, and we got called on table 2. Let's see if the read was right, and he did have a 10. Yep, he did have Jack 10, so it makes a lot of sense after the kind of mergy turn bet. And then back to table 1, where we bet the flop, bet the turn. Now he leads out on the river. Still gonna raise here, but he could have made a boat for sure. So just gonna raise. That's probably a bit too big. Something like this. Try and get value from maybe a river 9. From a 9 that he made trips now on the river. If he 3-bet jams me, I think we just have to fold. I don't think he's gonna have a lot of flushes here. Maybe just using this as a bluff card on the river. Maybe he did have a 9 and just decided to fold it. So yeah, basically just raise folding. I don't think people are gonna 3-bet bluff there on this river. Yeah, so obviously he got lucky there with the 9-3 to actually hit something, but you know, a hand like Jack 10 that could sometimes 3-bet, he did just call it in this instance. So, you know, it doesn't tell us something, but generally people are gonna be a bit too passive in these spots, 3-betting you, and if they're not really attacking you, then you get to open wider. So here we have the 8s multi-way. We're just gonna start with check. Very quick check, so this kind of caps this guy. Of course, the small blind could still have strong hands. Now he checks again. I'm just gonna protect my hand here, betting. I think they would have bet most of the stronger hands. Now, if they would brick on the river, I think value betting again is fine. Now it gets really thin, so I prefer just to check. Sure, he could have diamonds here, but he's also gonna have a lot of other hands that we can potentially check call again, so it depends a bit on the sizing here. But I think value betting now is getting a bit too thin. And he did have 6s, so again the read here on the flop, right? He's him snap check, he makes sure basically he never has a jack, he doesn't really have a set. He could have diamonds, he could have 5 6s. We could maybe go like on a brick really small, and this card it's I think a bit too thin. So yeah, just checking and sometimes check calling if he goes for like a size that doesn't make too much sense. Here we opened to get called from the small blind, checking back the flop, and now he checks again on the turn. Gonna just check this again. Very often gonna just have a pocket pair here, from which we don't really get value anyway. And yeah, I think we just have to check this back, even though I expect him to be in a pocket pair very often. 9-8, okay, that's fine too. We could definitely bet the flop small, we could bet the turn, but also checking back to value bet later slash bluff catch I think is fine in these spots. If you open, smaller sizing, Definitely would defend wider here. Jack 9 I think is a bit too much, but I had like Jack 10 offsuit, which is normally a fold. I would definitely call. And on table 1, interesting, we have a recreational behind, I think. So do we just flat calling and we continue the run good. Flopping a set here. Multi-weight being deeper. I'm still just gonna start with a small bet here. Give them a chance to float wide, give them a chance to maybe check raise. On table 2 here we defend the king 6 against a very, very small 3-bet suited and being deeper. And again we flop top 2. Crazy what's going on here. Gonna start with a half pot bet here. And then back to table 1 where we get called from 2 players. Now sizing up, I still don't want to polarize too much against 2 opponents after they just called. I doubt their ranges are usually going to be really, really strong, and the turn is also kind of connecting. So we'll just go for this bet and then polarize on the river. I don't think he's going to just call stronger hands than pocket 5s here. Like if he has the king 10 or the pocket jacks, I think he's going to raise now very often. So then polarizing on the river, where it's still tough for us to have a lot of bluffs. But yeah, maybe hand like queen jack can call, maybe hand like king queen 10 blocking the straights could call, just hoping that we need to go quite crazy. We don't have too many natural bluffs here, but he might still get sticky with quite a few hands there. Unfortunately, we just get a fold. But running good. And yeah, fold with the other hand with the king 6, he just folded after we bet on the flop. There I think sizing up on the flop already makes sense because well, first we heads up and secondly we also just want to bet a king and check most of our other stuff. So I sized up there. And we were also deeper. Just folding this hand. If you know that in this pocket 5s and both of your opponents are a bit more sticky, you can also start with a larger bet there. It was kind of like queen 9-5, I think, quite dry and disconnected, so I prefer the smaller sizing. This is close against 3x. I think against 3x we're just gonna fold this, and on table 2 we defended the pocket 5s. And I think we're also gonna sit out the next big blind. And face a bigger sizing, so we're just gonna fold. You don't have to be sticky on a flop, that's this good for him. Table 1, with 3-betting the king jack. MP against EP, quite tight position, so we have to keep that in mind. And just getting a fold. So there were some interesting hands, we were lucky with our strong hands. But also got, I think, cooled once or twice, which is not great. Here we get min 3-bet, so just not overreacting this, but like defending really, really wide of basically everything, and then going from there without any reads if this is strong or weak. Generally just gonna be slightly a wider range, and he bets large, and we're just folding. Just happy to see a flop with the hand that got a better price this way. Okay, couple more hands, also nothing happening over here. Ace jack, one more playable hand. We get 3-bet very, very quickly, right? So you already knew that he's gonna 3-bet the other table just close, so this is the last one. We're just gonna fold this one in these positions. Cut off against this button, we could maybe 4-bet bluff this, but here this is just a fold. And I think this is the last hand. So short session, not too long. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you would have played some hands differently. I think there were quite some spots. Hope I got to explain everything well. If there's any questions left, just let me know, and then maybe I'll do another one in the future. Also, if you have any suggestions about what I could be doing instead of playing the explains, let me know, and I'll try to do that as well. All right, have a good one. See you guys. Bye bye.